Well, hey there. Welcome to A&P1 Lab. I'm Dr. Julie Robinson. I'm the Department Chair for Science and Technology at River Valley, and I am one of the instructors for the A&P 1 and 2 labs. So I'm going to give you a little tour of our syllabus, and then we'll take a look at Canvas, and we'll take a look at Respondus, which is a software program you're going to use to take practicals and lecture exams online. So everybody's syllabus will look pretty similar to this. This information will be specific to your instructor and your particular class. So you want to make sure that you have your lab manual for the very first week of class, because whether you're coming to lab in person or whether you're doing an online lab, you'll need it to do the labs. As you're probably well familiar with at this point, everybody has to wear a face mask while you're on campus, and they should be available when you come into the buildings. We also have some in the lab as well. And if you're working in less than 6 feet from another student or an instructor in the labs, which you will be, then you will need to wear a face shield as well, and we'll supply those to you. You put your name on it, you leave it with us, you keep it in the lab, and it's there for you every week when you come. So our labs are structured such that the larger group is divided into 2 smaller groups. You're going to be in either A or Group B, and you will see those in Canvas in the People section, and you'll also likely get an email from your instructor with that information as well. Please make sure that you only come when you are supposed to be in the lab. So when you come to the lab in person, you'll get an introduction to the lab. Your instructor will show you where the materials are, how they work, and then you'll work through the lab procedure using the directions in the big lab manual and the objectives in the supplemental lab manual to help you guide through the lab. Now, if questions come up while you're working, ask us. Don't be afraid to ask. We're happy to answer questions. We will also migrate around the lab and ask you some questions. We'll help you make sure that you understand the material, that you know what you're looking at in the microscopes. And with all of those in-person labs, you'll also have a lab assignment to do as well. For online labs, you'll see a couple of things. You'll see in Canvas in the weekly modules a lab resources and tasks to complete page that'll show the due date. Most of those are Sundays, but just make sure that you keep an eye on them. There may be 1 or 2 due on a Saturday. So in there, you'll see what you're doing, the objectives, and some tasks for you to do to help you work through and learn the material. Once you've done all of that, then you take the lab assignment / lab quiz, which you can do as many times as you want before the due date to earn that minimum of 80%. However, if you want to do really well, be really well prepared, then do them until you get 100%. All of the lab practicals will be online using a software called Respondus, right? And I'm going through this syllabus fairly quickly and pointing out some key points. You are responsible for reading every single word. So you have about 90 minutes to do each practical, and they're open for a 48 to 60 hour window, and the due date is that closing time. That will be noted in the schedule that's at the end of this syllabus. So the practicals consist of maybe some pictures of models, pictures of slides, some open response questions, some short answer questions. So you'll want to make sure you go through all of the additional resources, the practice documents, because those will give you some pretty big hints as to what you're going to see on the practicals. You need to have good internet when you take these, because Respondus also involves using a webcam. And with that webcam, you're going to do a 360. You're going to scan your entire room, and you're going to scan your work surface as well, which is okay to have a drink, but you shouldn't have paper, pens, notes, books, any of that, even if it's for a different class, right? Just move all of that aside for the 90 minutes you need to take this exam and do your very best and focus. We also ask that you please do not use inappropriate language while you are taking an exam. I know some of us fidget or talk to ourselves, and we ask that you please do not take exams on your bed. It will be helpful for us if you take them on a hard surface, either a coffee table, counter, something where it's not your bed, please. If for some reason you have an emergency and you need to make up a practical or a lab, contact your instructor immediately, right? We'll do what we can to work with you, but you got to talk to us. You got to let us know that you need some help. This information is pretty standard for all of the syllabi at River Valley. So just to go through a couple of things, we have tutoring services that are included in your tuition. So make use of those. If you think you're going to need a tutor, get one early. If you decide you don't need the tutor, then you can say no thank you later on. If you need any kind of accommodations, please contact Kathy Dreich. Her information is right here, and then she'll send us your accommodation plan. You and your instructor will talk about it. It's completely confidential. Study, study, study. There's no magic to doing well in A&P, and you've probably heard that it's a pretty tough course, and it is. But we've given you lots of resources. We, your instructors, are available to you via email or in person or in Zoom. Please give us 48 hours to respond to an email. And if you don't get a response, just send it again in case we didn't get it. But do that from your college email address. There are some academic policies here that you should read through. And the biggest thing I can say about academic integrity is just be honest. Be honest and do your own work. Earn your A all by yourself. If we have a snow day for a lab, you should expect that you will be given online lab work, so don't forget to check Canvas. So let's look at the schedule. So this is what it looks like for a Thursday class that meets at 1 o'clock. Yours might look a little bit different depending on when your class meets, but the structure will be exactly the same. So in here's two groups, Group A and B, and you'll see each week, for example, Group A in week 1 is doing a lab in person on microscopy and has a couple of assignments due. Group B will be doing online lab work and has a couple of assignments due. You'll also see those reflected in Canvas, which I'll show you in just a minute. And then the next week, you'll see Group A is doing online lab work. Group B is coming to the lab. There's a couple of weeks where you'll come for shortened labs, so just make sure you pay attention to the schedule, which again is reflected in Canvas. And then in weeks where you'll have a practical, like this week, you'll see that for this class, the practical is going to be open from 1 a.m. on a Tuesday to 1 p.m. on a Thursday, which is its due date. So that's actually 60 hours instead of 48 hours, and it covers exercises 1, 3, 4, and 6. So let's look at the supplemental lab manual so you can see where your study guide is and where the additional resources for studying are. This is the supplemental lab manual for your course. So there's a page that shows you how to use it in case you forget, but we'll talk about it in lab every week, so you'll get accustomed to it really quickly. So for each lab, you'll get a summary of what you're doing, the objectives for the lab, which are the study guide. These are the things you want to study for the practicals and what you want to make sure you're comfortable with before you leave the lab or before you end that week's lab. And if you're doing an online lab, ask questions. Send your instructor questions or ask to meet with them. Ask them in the proceeding lab. But don't just sit there and not understand things. Ask us. That's what we're here to help you do. Each lab will also have some additional resources to help you practice the material for the lab practicals. So this one is an online lab. You'll see all of this in the lab resources and task to complete page. And then this one is an in-person lab, but it still has some additional resources to help you study. These documents, wherever you see like a PDF link, that PDF link, or that PDF rather, will be available to you in Canvas. By the way, the secret code that you need for the Respondus syllabus quiz is MOZKO, capital M-O-Z, capital K-O. It's a combination of my puppy dog's names. So this is how Canvas will look for your lecture and your lab course. You'll see your syllabus. The video link will be in here for you so you can watch it before you take that syllabus quiz. Everything you need, other than grades and Zoom links, will be here in the module section. So there's a start here that has a few documents you should read. The supplemental lab manual that I just showed you is right here. We're going to give you a paper copy in lab, so you don't need to print it yourself. This is the packet of documents that will be included in your lab kit, because you're going to do some labs at home with equipment that we give you. And if you need help with Respondus, which is an app that you're going to download, it's not taking an exam through Canvas, you can click here and there'll be some information about that. These are those practice documents that I described earlier. Now, each week, you'll see the list of things that you got to do, right? One will tell you you're coming to lab or your group is online, and then you'll see the work that you need to do for lab that week. So if we go in here and click on that lab resources page, you'll essentially see what's in the supplemental lab manual. So after you do all that work, then you go down here, click on the lab quiz, read the directions, and then you take the quiz. It's untimed. You can do it as many times as you want. You'll see the due date up here. So you can use books, you can use your resources. Any of that is fine to use in the lab assignments. You cannot use books, notes, any additional resources, people, the internet, when you take a lab practical. So now's the time to really get comfortable with that material. Write down questions and send them to us if you're not sure about something. You can find Zoom links here, whether it's for your lecture course or if you happen to have one for lab. You can find your grades here. I aim to update grades every week. You should continually look at your grades. If I make a mistake, just tell me. I'll go back and take a look. You know, I aim not to do that, and I triple, quadruple check everything. But you should double check your grades as well. And when it comes to taking tests, and we'll look at this Respondus syllabus quiz, you're going to see when I go into it here, this one is a pretty long explanation because it's going to show you how to download the Respondus app. It's going to show you how to work with it. Here's some tips for doing the environmental scan. And then when you're ready, and the practicals will work the same way, you would, after logging into the Respondus lockdown browser, you'd navigate here from the modules section and then click on this quiz. So if I try to do it, you'll see if I try to go into it straight from Canvas, it's going to say, nope, sorry, can't do that. So then all you got to do is just X out of Canvas, close the window, open the Lockdown Browser app, and it'll help you navigate into or log into Canvas, and you'll get to the same place here. It's just through a Lockdown Browser instead. So I know that I talked fairly quickly in this video. You can certainly go back and watch it again, or you could slow it down because it's YouTube based. So I just want to encourage you to have a great semester. Ask us for help whenever you need it. We're here for you.